Hey guys, I'm here in the Player Models tool and wanted to run over some of the stat splits that we have for each player. So we obviously have a bunch of data relevant to every player, but the most useful when it comes to projecting a player in a particular game are these stat splits that we have. So we have strikeouts, home runs, and stolen bases per at bat or per game, which gives you a good idea of a player's upside and safety a little bit in addition to our uh, upside and consistency percentages. But these stat splits here are all broken down by handedness. So we have WOBA, or weighted on base average, and ISO as the two primary stats along with slugging. So WOBA and ISO are my two favorite advanced stats. WOBA is a really good catch-all statistic that weights hits according to how valuable they actually are, and it's really my favorite stat to use in cash games. I think it's the best stat if you're looking for just overall player value. ISO is isolated power, which is a measure of a player's raw power. It takes into account just basically how often he hits for extra bases, and it's my favorite stat to use for player in tournaments in addition to stolen base upside. So most guys don't steal a ton of bases, in which case I'm looking at ISO as a really good metric for their power. So these WOBA, the pure WOBA and ISO numbers are based on the handedness of the pitcher that player's facing. So Peterson in this particular day is facing Eddie Butler, a right-hander. So this WOBA number is his WOBA over the past 12 months. It's a running 12-month average. For Peterson, it's obviously different, but for the other players, a running 12-month average versus that handedness. So these are already split numbers. Same thing with ISO and slugging. So everything is already broken down by handedness, which is really relevant. And then the WOBA diff and ISO diff. We have tooltips on all these, so you can go over those. But it's really the difference between the handedness of the pitcher a batter is facing and the handedness he's not. So this would be Peterson versus right-handers minus his WOBA versus left-handers. That difference is shown right here. And I really like that calculation because it shows you the difference in a player's the specific matchup that he's in relative to how he performs overall. And that's a really good way to find value because a lot of times I think site salaries are based on overall production, or at least for the most part based on overall production. So when a player is in a situation that's a lot more favorable than what his overall numbers suggest, that'll be captured by WOBA diff and ISO diff, and a really good way to find players who are probably underpriced relative to their particular matchup.